It was bad.
Well, you haven't had any,
Let me call the Berkeley City Planning Commission to order for its regular meeting of Tuesday, November the 22nd, 2016. Would you all please rise for the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Could I have a roll call, please?
Martin Smith,
here.
Tangari, Richardson,
Here.
Shadle, Murad,
Here.
Pop,
Here.
Dean Smith,
Here.
Buckler,
Present.
Burnett.
Present. Now I'll take a motion to approve the agenda for this evening.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Murad. Is there a second?
Support.
Seconded by Dean Smith. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Martin Smith,
Yes.
Buckler,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Dean Smith,
Yes.
Murad,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Burnett.
Yes. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the September the 27th, 2016 meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Martin Smith. Is there a second?
Support.
Second by Commissioner Dean Smith. Any discussion on the minutes?
Mr. Chair, I like the new format. It's concise and refers us to the video.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Martin Smith.
Yeah, also, and according to our city attorney, I guess our format was always on the mark, for the minutes, but I'm glad we're adding a little more information to it. Paragraph at the top regarding the YouTube and, maybe a little bit more information than we had before, but apparently we were well within the legal limits of what we had to do. I have a couple comments, though. I just want to recall, because I did not watch the YouTube video. On page 3, I know Commissioner Dean Smith made the original
We're
recommendation
on
for...
September, Mr. Smith.
We're in September.
Oh, we're on
Oh, I'm
September.
sorry. My apology.
Your month,
I had them backwards here. My apology. Let me see if I have anything else. On page 5, the third paragraph, Commissioner Martin Smith stated he was surprised to see the Oxford rezoning. What I believe I said, to see it return again. Not that that makes a big difference, but I was surprised that it was returned again. And the liaison reports, we're gonna have to get used to this again with two Smiths up here. Commissioner Dean Smith spoke on the ZBA.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, with that, I'll take a roll call vote.
Richardson,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Murad,
Yes.
Dean Smith,
Yes.
Buckler,
Yes.
Martin Smith.
Yep.
Burnett.
Yes. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Point of clarification, the corrected ones are in, they have the blue.
Yep.
Those are the ones that were in your packet that are
Be
just
sure
in black and
everybody
white.
got the right one. Okay. Now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of October the 25th, 2016.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Murad, second.
Oh, a second.
Second by Commissioner Pop. Is there any discussion on these minutes?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dean Smith, or Mr. Martin Smith, sorry.
Now that I have them in the right order,
I'm still looking for
on page 3, I know Commissioner Dean Smith made the original motion. 2/3 of the way down is moved by,
I can't find it.
moved by, was it Dean Smith or myself? Not that it really matters. To recommend proposed verbiage changes. I thought I made the amendment, but I'm not sure because I did not watch the YouTube, if anybody recalls.
I recall it as being, I think.
Then maybe he did. Okay, my apology. I can't tell us apart, so.
Glad I don't have you both sitting together then, huh?
the bookends here.
Yeah, the book.
And the same item on page 5, Commissioner Dean Smith regarding ZBA.
Okay, thank you.
And the only item on page 3 that really changed was the last paragraph between this and the voided version. Am I correct?
I'm sorry.
On page 3, 2, in accordance with the transit-oriented development, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
That's the only paragraph that really changed.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make
The
sure
last
there wasn't something else
paragraph, yes.
lingering in there.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Anybody else? Okay, take a roll call vote.
Buckler,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Murad,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Martin Smith.
Yep.
Barnett.
Yes. Communications.
In addition to what's in your packet, we did receive today a City of Royal Oak public hearing notice. They are looking into, the Shrine of the Little Flower Basilica Elementary School is looking to construct an addition for preschool classrooms. So that is a special land use under Royal Oaks ordinance apparently, and so they have sent a postcard.
To us,
Yes.
because we adjoin.
What?
Because we adjoin Royal Oak, I suppose.
Yes.
When is that meeting, Amy?
It is Tuesday, December 13th, 2016, at 7 p.m.
They were
I'll
here.
pass it around, Mr. Smith. Dean.
All right,
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's it. That's all you got for communication.
Other than what's in your packet, did you want me to
Yeah.
go through it?
Which one?
Did you want me to go through what's in your packet? or- There's nothing in addition to,
No.
Okay.
Okay. Then I'll entertain citizens' comments. Any citizens who would care to address the planning commission on any topic not on our agenda may step up to the microphone at this time. I will remind the audience, though, that please remember to respect one another when someone is up making comments this evening. You may disagree, but that's tendency to happen, and you may agree, but we don't need clapping, shouting, or anything else. So I'll open it up to citizens' comments. Well, not seeing anybody rushing up to the microphone, I guess we'll move on to our regular agenda this evening.
ready?
Go.
Site plan review SP 0416, George, Rose, and Katie. Talked to her on the phone. Kutcher, thank you, for 3087 12 Mile southeast corner of 12 Mile and Griffith is requesting site plan approval for a facade change. We have the plans, thank you.
Are the petitioners here this evening? You want to step up to the, here, and we'll get you all together? Do we have an architect? Who's going to be speaking? Why don't you just all introduce yourselves?
I'm Matt Stroud with Christopher Thomas Construction.
George Rose, same Christopher Thomas Construction.
And the young lady?
I am Katie Kutcher, the owner.
Okay. Hi. Welcome. So I guess what we'll let you folks do is do a presentation of what you're proposing to do, and then we'll get into any further discussion. Who wants to lead off?
No, that sounds fine. You guys all have.
You have to use the mic.
Yeah, I'll have to use the microphone.
Sorry.
You can either take it off the stand and walk over. It makes no difference.
No, this is fine.
Okay.
Does everyone have a packet? Because I have actually.
Yes.
Nobody has.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the rendering kind of shows what we're looking to do with the building. We're looking at, right now, we've kind of started some exploratory demo on the
Excuse
outside
me.
and the inside.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
while you're showing, can you also pan the studio audience?
Since we have the packet, so why don't you, we should be able to refer to it. Okay, go ahead.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah,
Do
it'd
you
be
need a
nice to have
packet?
Something to reference and stuff. So one
Okay.
second. Okay, so, with the front, we've got the exposed brick going on in the front. We're looking to do a whitewash brick on the front. And then basically just some neutral grays, painting on the exposed brick on the side, and on it shows a block facade on the top. That stucco feature that's going on the building is very difficult to remove, so we're going to end the removal of that at the top of the brick, and we're going to leave the top part of the facade stucco and just clean it up and repaint it and take off any peeling material. It's just becoming way too much to get that. But looking to do some flower planter boxes under the windows on the second floor. One thing that has changed from the original packet, we're not going to do a painted front entry here, and we've made the change on the board here. They want to do a stained wood door on the front entry. Not a major change, but just wanted to point that out. And then,
In your package, it shows it. You'll-
yeah, it shows the teal
color
painted.
painting, yeah.
Right, so we're gonna switch that to a stained wood.
So this kind of shows the color of the stain.
Okay.
Nothing crazy with the windows, just like a black or an anodized dark bronze with the muttons. The bottom windows will have an awning on the top to allow for some airflow. Let's see, gooseneck lights around the windows. 2 garage doors that won't sit flush with the ground. We want to bring them up about 30 inches off the ground so that they're right around table height. And they'll be about 8 feet tall. Painted sign on the Griffith Street facade, and basically just a text sign that's going to kind of stand off the building. We kind of referenced the public house. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the public house in Ferndale, but they've got a very similar sign that we show on here that we kind of like to use that style. Yeah, we're adding a second door to the Griffith side facade for the renovated stairs. The current stairs do not meet egress needs, so we're going to rework that staircase, add a door to the Griffith facade so that we have access to the exterior from the second floor, a secondary access.
This is a piece of metal.
So-
You can kind of see through here. That separates the different materials from the painted brick to the stucco. There's a metal band that wraps around the top here, which is more of the same color as the brick.
Yeah, it's going to be real similar in color. Also on the front door, they'd like to add an awning, like a structural steel type awning, kind of small, but maybe to come off the building about 36 inches to add a little bit of a rain,
Where would that be?
right above the front.
Oh, okay.
Something like this. Again, that's something that was not in the packet, but wanted to.
The building itself has a curved exterior, and so really the awning would go under that existing curve, so it really wouldn't protrude much more than the curve itself.
Yeah.
And it would really just be to protect from weather and elements and everything. Potentially be some can lighting, some down lighting to illuminate the doorway. Safety issue.
Putting can lights under the soffit here.
Right. Where the
Light up.
kind of, there's existing fluorescent lighting in or is it fluorescent? It might even be neon lighting. Fluorescent lighting in there. We're going to remove all that, kind of make a nice box and put some 4-inch cans or some 6-inch cans in there just for some ambient lighting. Nothing bright.
Excuse me, I'm Terry. I'm Katie's husband, also a partner
Okay.
in the project.
So,
And a sign holder.
okay,
Hello.
you're doing a good job.
The mansard roof is staying as it is, not messing with that,
Right.
so the shingles will stay. That's really,
Yeah, that's pretty much it, other than just cleaning things up and.
Questions from the planning commission? Mr. Martin Smith?
How high off the ground will that awning be? Off the sidewalk about?
Give me 1 second. 8 or 9 feet.
yeah, about 9 feet.
So I see on our rendering, I see a door. It's probably a 7-foot door and a panel above it, 4 feet tall or something.
It'll kind of come out of that panel.
Yeah, it'd come out of the top of the panel about 6 inches tall, 6 to 8 inches tall on the awning.
Somewhere in the middle of the panel. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Nope, I'm good. Those are representative of the colors. They're a little lighter than what we have here, right? The grays, the two
Yeah, the
grays.
grays are gonna be a little bit lighter than the rendering
Yeah,
shows.
well, that happens.
Um,
The next piece of paper will be completely different. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's that's better.
That's a better
than-
representation,
It's
yeah.
very dark. Okay, good.
And,
Thank you.
If you guys want, we can bring it around so you can all see
Can see it.
the kind of updated colors on that.
I have a couple items that aren't our business, but I'm gonna ask you anyway.
Okay.
No elevator?
I like those lights.
Right now, the plan is to use the first floor. Just kind of clean up the second floor and maybe put in some, prep for the plumbing and all that, but,
So, okay, so the second floor is future?
Future,
Yes.
future use, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just, on planning commission, that's not our issue, but
right.
as some of us are in the profession, that's something that little flag goes up, and that's between you and the building
Right,
department.
and
I-
if we do use the second floor for overspill, we're gonna predominantly have the same use. So what we know in the code is that it's under 3,000 square feet and the elevator is not required.
Just asking. And no vestibule?
No.
Okay. I mean, that's up to you. I'm just
Yeah, yeah.
asking. I deal with this all day, every week, so.
Gotcha.
The only issue I do have, or not issue, but question, you back up your east wall at the second floor, obviously backs up to the 24-second deck.
Right.
So what's going on between you and your neighbor?
In that regard.
Well, I'm trying to remember, I think he built a structure on top of his parapet.
Correct.
Right.
It's brick, though, that wall.
Yeah, there's a block wall
You have a block
separating. the-
wall. You have a firewall separating, so you have a block wall. So,
His structure's metallic.
and I believe it's separated from your building. It might be clipped back to your building for support, but there's no,
Yeah.
you two parties have no issues?
No, and we're working with Bob, the owner, on, we've talked to him about any concerns he has with us, and so far, so good.
Okay. What about the low roof in the back? Are you gonna be replacing any equipment back there? There's a fan up there, makeup air,
The
whatever?
equipment that is there is going to stay there,
Mm-hmm.
hindering any repairs. The best that we can say, we have to repair some of the roof, so, but we don't plan on moving anything or rearranging it.
Okay. Just asking, okay.
And we have already done one repair to that roof that you're talking about.
The low roof?
Smaller roof, the lower exterior.
Oh, I'm sure there was some.
Removing debris, patching holes.
It was raining on us when we bought the space.
Okay. And all these lights around, the goosenecks and the obvious are just decorative, it's a little glow, nothing
Right.
that we're gonna worry about photometrics or anything? Okay. And you found out stucco doesn't necessarily come off a block real easy, that's why I kinda chuckled when you said that.
Yeah.
The latex did.
Well, yeah, it came off the brick, it's just not coming off the block.
Yeah, well, we've
Right.
experienced that a few times.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna kind of flatten it out and just
Clean it up
clean it
and
up, because it's kind of a funny.
get any
funny
flaking
look
or
right now.
peeling paint and everything off there and just really dress it up.
Okay.
Look nice.
Mr. Chairman, that's all the comments I
Ms.
had.
Buckler?
Mr. Chair, so you have a small awning that's coming off the front, I assume for decorative purposes and to open the door. But invariably, there will be people that exit your building for smoking. And because that's the only awning, I don't believe there's one off the back into the parking lot to the south, or to the south. How are you gonna keep people from congregating under that awning to smoke? Because that's what's gonna happen, is they're gonna stand out on that front corner.
Okay, where would you suggest this?
Well,
I'm just curious, because they're gonna, yeah.
I know, but that's what's gonna happen, is because that's the only awning to protect from rain.
With all due
And,
respect, you could remove the awning,
well,
honestly.
I mean, I really don't have a preference whether there's an awning or not, because
So-
aesthetically, it doesn't mean anything to me whether there's an awning or not in that corner. I'm just concerned that that's where people are gonna stand, either hindering access in and out of the building or creating this kind of like smoking on the corner where people are walking up and down the street.
Well, what I did in my last business is respectfully put signs up where they could stand, and they did adhere
Okay.
And our employees would be versed in where we tell the patrons to stand.
But then we're gonna need something for you to put a sign on our sidewalk.
No, it would be in our window.
Okay. I don't know if there is a better place, maybe an awning out back.
We don't have access for the patrons to.
No
go
patrons.
there.
Right.
It's not like 24 seconds where they have to.
No,
Or
it's either
that
gonna be on the
side,
side
because you have a
street.
side door on Griffith.
Yeah.
That might be a better place to put it. I'm just not sure. I just think that what's gonna happen is they're gonna come up, with 24 seconds, they can go out back, with Patrick J's, they can go out back with,
And what do they have behind 24 seconds, forgive my ignorance?
They have a bench and
They have a
still
bench.
smoking out there. But quite honestly,
Kind of an
I felt
enclave
that was
there.
a little more intrusive of the neighbors because there's houses back there.
well, there's a parking lot between them and the neighbors, and there's like multiple, at least 3 levels of parking between that and is there a wall there on that?
Yeah, there is a wall.
At the back
Yeah,
of the parking
so I don't really care about that. It's just that corner, and that corner being part of our downtown, our charm, and for people, like, for the 24 seconds patrons, they're not standing out front smoking, they're out back.
Yeah, they are.
They
Are
smoke
they?
out front.
Yeah, I see them out there too.
Okay, I don't normally see them out there.
People to smoke on the Griffith side.
I mean, that's really the only
I
other
mean, that's
option.
what's gonna happen,
Because it's gonna be,
but I just didn't want
the
that
kitchen
corner to become the
to get to the
gathering
back,
spot,
so.
because there's an awning.
I think if there wasn't any awnings, most people would congregate to the front door anyways for smoking purposes, just because that's the most accessible space. I mean, I think
That's how you enter the restaurant.
Yeah, the
Just
side door kind of goes into the bathroom space. It's not really there as an entrance, it's there as a emergency exit.
But we'd
You
be
know,
happy to,
that's
with
not
your
a-
approval, if 24 seconds, that format is working, and you'd prefer not to have people in the 12 mile at the corner, we could put a bench here with your approval, or figure out another way, if that's somewhere.
I don't want a bench anywhere.
Mr. Chair,
Normally why it's in a-
I'm just not sure what we do to keep them.
Mr. Chair,
What are they doing at Patrick?
Mr. Richardson.
well, I don't know about Patrick J's, but my concern is actually just the opposite of Ms. Buckler's. The first thing I envisioned was that people would congregate on the Griffith side to smoke, because there might not be an awning there, but there is a tree. But the concern I have is that the sidewalk there is pretty narrow, and if your place is popular, we know how it goes. There's going to be, it's not just smokers, there's going to be people that want some air, and I'm just concerned that they might block off the sidewalk on weekends. So my concern is really kind of the opposite, having the sidewalk, a narrow sidewalk blocked, and maybe some people standing in the street. So I don't see any way you can configure this to get people out to the parking lot, but maybe you could kind of encourage them to disperse a little bit or something.
Absolutely. I had a business in New York City, and the smoking ban went into effect, and that was a real problem because of the same issues you're bringing up tonight.
Yeah.
So what we did do is, like I said before, we put a lot of signage up. We worked with our police department, and we formulated a plan where people could stand.
Okay.
And we had a person at the door telling people where they should stand, and if they were congregating for a certain amount of time, because we had obviously apartments and residents living all over us, so we didn't want the noise. It was a quality of life issue. So we did ask them after a certain minute to either keep walking or finish up and come right back inside. One of the reasons for the garage doors is for that air. So we're gonna have that, hopefully have that open in the summer, so maybe some people don't have to go outside, like you said, to get their air. It will bring the air into the restaurant.
Okay.
So,
One other comment about the elevator, as Commissioner Smith said, it's really none of our affair, but just so you know, in Berkeley, it can sometimes be hard for groups to find places to meet. So if you want to consider the second floor as a meeting place that you'd like to rent or what have you, having an elevator would very much facilitate that. That's just some food for thought is all.
absolutely, and if we could afford everything right now, that would be on our list.
It's only
Right.
$75,000,
This building is,
or maybe more.
Second, it's actually second on that list.
this building was in great disrepair, and it is costing
Yeah.
a lot of money to bring it up to where we need to. So we have it in our thoughts. And if we decide that we're not going to have the same use of floor 1 and floor 2, it's 100% in our plan.
Okay.
Other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Murad?
I like that you're adding windows to the,
Yeah.
to the Griffith side. I see you're, on your floor plan, you're planning to put booths in there.
It's not booths, it's a long banquette.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was concerned about, I've seen some restaurants that they put in these booths on the inside and they have these big, beautiful windows and it
No, it's gonna-
blocks half of it,
Yeah,
so.
no, it's a long banquette with restaurant tables, and
Okay.
then we'll have some communal tables in the middle.
All right, so you're pretty sure that it'll be lower than
We
the windows?
plan on it, and we're
Okay,
actually
great.
going,
It's a 42 height from the street to the window on the Griffith
Okay.
side, and the booths are about 43,
All right.
38 inches, so it's gonna be
Perfect, all right. Other than that, my only other thing that I've never liked on this building is that mansard roof, and I was like,
Oh,
so,
again, a
It
budget
was on my
issue.
list and I got 86.
yeah. Something you can always do later, right?
As you know, you're probably familiar with the building, there is a lot of coding issues there
Yeah.
with stairwells and fire suppression. And I think other people were interested in the building, and due to the high cost of these things, they're not able to do it. So we're doing the best we can with what we have.
Other than that, I look forward to your opening.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Dean Smith?
just one question that, your windows, the new windows, are any of them operable or will they all be fixed pane
The top of the windows is a thing, you can open it up.
On the main floor.
on the main floor?
On the main floor.
And the second floor will be fixed pane glass?
Fixed it.
Right.
And Matt's right about the Griffith side, but 12 Mile side will be operable.
Yeah, those are full garage
Yeah.
doors that will open,
These will
Like
open
Patrick
just
J.
at the top, in, just to allow ventilation. These will be fully operable.
Wonderful. The 3 nice weeks we have in Michigan, it's great to have windows at work.
We were considering the second floor, but I don't, like you said, like, we're not, we don't want people throwing things out of it or anything. We're gonna keep it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? What kind of menu are you going to have, or what is your,
It's going to be a gastropub fare with small plates, and you're going to have your regular standbys with burgers and wings, but we're going to have a kind of a twist on those things.
Some vegan, some farm to table, if that's not an overused or overplayed concept. But again, small plates. It's not a
And then
steakhouse.
everybody wants
It's not a
tacos,
fish.
we are doing tacos.
okay.
Oh,
Anything else from the planning commission? What's the desire of the planning commission?
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
I'd
Murad?
like to make a motion to approve SP 0416.
Is there a second to the motion?
second it.
Do you want to make anything, any conditions to any of it at all?
We've got, are we adding the awning?
Out the awning or
Yeah,
anything?
yeah, let's add
And
the
then
awning to
the
there.
wood door,
The
not
wood
the
door.
Yeah, that they're
teal?
gonna
Okay.
use a wood door and a small awning over that door.
Yeah, Mr. Chair?
Does the seconder agree to that?
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Do we need to add something about the lighting complying with city code?
You can, that's fine.
No.
I mean, we'll have
No.
to.
Chairman, I think the intent of the lighting is to be
Right, decorative.
Decorative and not-
and I don't know if we need to go into that. However, I'd like to,
Mr. Martin Smith,
oh,
yeah?
sorry, yeah, Mr. Chairman. When I first opened this, it's like the colors, but I'd like to refer to the colors on the color board, the lighter grays. That's
Yeah.
a whole lot better than
Right.
what this represents, and I understand the printing process and everything,
Yeah.
so. The lighter grays per the color board, if
Right.
that's-
I'm fine with that. You can add that in.
I-
Okay,
You support that?
I do, I'm not sure we need to formally amend because we've had this presentation, it's on the record, and
Yeah.
Well,
we know what we're approving at this point. But I agree to
It's good to have it on the record.
these comments.
okay, you have a seconder to the motion?
Yes.
Any other comments? Any other thing? Okay. Ms. Vanson, my call roll.
Buckler,
Yes.
Martin Smith,
Yes.
excuse me, Richardson,
Yes.
Murad,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Dean Smith,
Yes.
and Burnett.
Yes. Well, I guess you're off and running.
Good luck.
Good luck and.
Congratulations.
and
Good luck.
Welcome to Berkeley.
Thank you for taking it on.
Take it off our hands.
Have a good night and a good Thanksgiving.
Item number 2 on our agenda this
Item number 2 are the bylaws and rules of procedure. There was discussion of this last month. This is further discussion and consideration of bylaws and rules of procedure that were discussed on October 25th.
Are there any additions, any changes you want to make to this? It's the time to do it.
I believe I got all of Mr. Smith's comments.
We've picked up everything that needs to be picked up on it. Any other?
Mr. Chair, just
Mr. Richardson?
for the record, the language about no commissioner shall abstain from voting is in the proposed change. I expressed some concern about that at the last meeting. I apparently, if I'm ever in that rare position where I don't know enough about an issue to vote, I will have to vote no, I guess. But I'm not going to. I'm not going to sit here and with a soliloquy about this one passage.
Okay. Anything else? We need to take a roll call to approve this?
I would, yeah.
All right. Would somebody make a motion? Well, I guess we have a motion on the, we don't have a motion. I need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make excuse me, we don't need to resolve this on the end with a
The
signature?
city attorney, when he reviewed when the zoning board of appeals did this last year, that had been in both of planning commission and the ZBAs, and he had lined it out, so I sent it to him, and,
I don't think it's necessary anyway.
right, well, I think that's why he lined it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the revised bylaws and rules of procedure.
Okay.
The only thing I might add, if I may, or do I have to wait for the second first?
Let's get a second, and if you want to add something, you can. Somebody second it, please.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Dean Smith seconded it. Okay, go ahead. Mr.
And I just found what I was going to add, so forget it.
Okay.
Okay.
Never mind.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, let's take a roll call vote.
Murad,
Yes.
Martin Smith,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Buckler,
Yes.
Dean Smith,
Yes.
Burnett.
Yes. Okay, now we get into some interesting discussion this evening, I guess, or I'm not sure where we're headed for this yet. After reading, I spent 3 days reading about marijuana and the law and the rules, and some of it was very dry reading, and some of it was kind of interesting reading. So, Ms. Vanson, we'll let you start this off, where we're going or what.
Well, this is the state law change regarding medical marijuana. It was signed into law. You have a review of the recent changes to state law, and you can review them and see what's available to cities, discuss the pros and cons of allowing the different types of facilities, and decide what you want to do. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to, you can, I discussed this with the city manager, and his feeling was you guys should weigh in on it and make a recommendation with what you think is best. You had the items from City Attorney John Starren, as well as from the office of Michael Bouchard, his report, and then I had summarized the session that I went to at the planning conference last month, and then they finally made the PowerPoint available. So I thought, well, that would have been nice to have ahead of time so I didn't have to furiously write all my notes, but it's all good. So this doesn't affect the 2008, the ballot that provided protection for patients and primary caregivers. That all still stands. Nothing, this law doesn't affect any of that. This would be on top of it, and there are 5 types of facilities that the state has defined. And there is some limitations, as is shown in one of these diagrams, that, there can't be, obviously, you can't be a quality checker for marijuana and also grow it. That seemed to be an issue with the state, and I would agree. If you're the one growing it, you shouldn't be the one determining the quality of all of it as well. So yeah, that's in relationship between licensed facilities. That looks like this. So essentially, a city can pick, if you want to allow all 5, if you don't want to allow any, if you want to allow 1 or 2 different kinds of facilities, you get to pick. You get to decide, and there is a limit to how much the annual license fee can be. The state did cap that. And the state is working on right now, as I articulated in my report, they're going to have a 5-member board within LARA, the licensing and regulation section of the state government. And they are in the midst of developing their rules. Since this was just signed into law, they are doing the same thing, trying to figure out what are going to be the licensing requirements through the state. And some of that may affect, advertising. It may affect what kind of security is required, that sort of thing. So at this point, it's very much a blank canvas. I think certainly if the Planning Commission, if you decide you're going to recommend, nope, shouldn't do anything, then it's really easy. If you think, maybe, then what would be appropriate is to probably get kind of a rough idea of what you would want to allow and where, and we could come up with some kind of ordinance, and then it's going to be a wait and see what the state comes up with, because we can't overrule the state. The state's rules would have to be followed, and ours would be, we couldn't be in conflict with the state.
So does it make sense to sit and wait for the state to come up with everything, or?
No, I don't think
You
you'd
think so?
want to. No, I think you want to
Get
at least have a
jumping?
discussion and decide
Okay,
if, you think something's okay, if you all agree on the one something, or if you all agree that no, nothing.
okay.
And then have some, if you all agree on the one or the whatever somethings that you want to allow, if that's the case, then have a discussion on, okay, well, where would we maybe want it? And what would we maybe want to see? And how do we want to allow it? Is it a special land use? Is it permitted by right? What are those things we're going to do? You can also limit the number that are given out. That's another requirement.
Yeah,
That's
read
very
all this.
different from other uses.
Yeah, okay, Ms. Buckler?
So, Ms. Vanson, I have some questions correlating the memo from the Office of Sheriff and the Michigan Association of Planning Conference
Okay.
presentation. There are roughly, I think on page 7 or 8 of it's called Local Regulatory Response, where it has different
7 or 8 of
the
Slideshow.
medical marijuana update.
okay.
I'm thinking page 7 or 8 of that presentation. And there are categories like primary caregivers, compassion care clubs, clinics, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, the beginning of that presentation was essentially what the 2008 gave us. And how
So,
it ended up, we ended up with an awful lot of holes, right? We had we had these unanticipated issues that didn't so much come up in Berkeley, but in other cities. Okay.
so how do we correlate that with the 5 types of licenses that are listed in the Office of Sheriff, RB 4209, the Licensing Act? So we have growers, processors,
Right,
secure
those-
transporters,
that's
safety
what-
compliance facilities, provisioning centers.
Yes.
Like, what would a compassion care club be?
Well, I don't know, because we
Okay.
never had them. So what was described to me is, as they talk about the local regulatory response between 2008 and now, is it didn't address the qualifying patient. It didn't say, how are you going to get these? I mean, there were all of these holes that were left in. I think there was feeling that you ought to be able to do this if it relieves pain, but how do you get the plant? What
Yeah.
happens if all your plants die? What are you going to do?
Right.
Yes, okay, so the primary caregivers could have been allowed as a home occupation in some cities, or a commercial use, or people just ignored them, and then you had these compassion care clubs that came up where people had to have a membership. And then there was a problem from cities that allowed that if you're not supposed to use at the club. So so those were the problems. So I think I wouldn't so much think about how these translate, because these were responses that other cities had.
Right, but how
Right,
would we
okay.
regulate that? Would they be a processor or a grower or a secure transporter?
They would be a provision, all of these, as far as the clinics and the compassion care clubs, would be a provisioning center.
Okay,
They would
so
be a
primary
dispensary.
caregiver, a clinic, would all be
Yeah,
dispensaries.
a grower's
Okay.
pretty,
Okay.
a processor is taking the plants and turning them into, whether it's the oil or the whatever, the raw materials that are going to be used and made into products. The secure transporter, that.
Okay, so we may not deal with this secure transporter, but I would think within our community, we would, of course, definitely look at how would we deal with dispensaries and safety compliance facilities.
Yeah, let me look at that.
Processors and growers, certainly we should have to address, correct? Because people could be growing, and I'm assuming that they're growing for more than just themselves, or even if they are growing for themselves, if they have whatever whatever licensing they
Again,
need
if
for
it's under
that.
the 2008 law, it can't, if they have their card through the 2008.
Well, I'm looking at the RB 4209. Is that 2008 or is that now?
I don't know.
That's the Office of Sheriff, this thing.
RB 4209, that's the new one.
That's
That's
the new
where
one.
they have that.
There are 5
Yes,
licenses.
yes.
So if they have a grower's license under that, do they get that grower's license from the state?
Yes.
And then what do we as a community, are we allowed to address that?
How-
Or
how
are we
it would-
only allowed to address the dispensary?
We would address all of them.
Okay.
All of
So,
those,
again-
all 5 types. So
again,
we can
so-
say, no growers, no processors, yes, secure transporters, yes, safety compliance, no dispensaries.
Okay, that's where I'm getting to.
Yes.
So I was just trying to, right.
Gotcha.
So the 2008, it's like there's all these categories that fall under dispensaries, but now we have 5 different things that we have to look at as.
Well, the
how would we-
2008 really only dealt with what it
Okay.
dealt with.
I get
And
that.
then this is
Okay, so
trying
now
to
we
fix
have,
it.
we have 5 different licenses that we have to look at.
Yeah.
And within those licenses, the provisioning centers can take many forms, whether it's a club or blah, blah, blah. Okay, go on. All right, so this is a lot to cover because we have to look at, one, from a grower's perspective, they're gonna be typically in our neighborhoods.
Well, that would be, or it would be an industrial operation. So you don't allow it as a home occupation.
Possibly. And processor, is that in a house or is that in the industrial section? And the secure transporters, well, that is moving stuff, so we're on our public streets. And then the safety compliance facilities, is that a commercial operation? Would that be allowed in a residential area? And provisioning centers, again, is that allowed in a residential center? Or is that in a commercial center? Is that in an industrial center here in our area?
Yes, so if you think you might want some of these, then yes, it's a lot. You've got to think about if you don't want to
Or
have
can
any
we-
of them, then you don't have to.
Like, as a community, can we say we don't want any of
Yes.
them? We're allowed to do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what would happen is if somebody decided, well, I want to, grow in Berkeley, they would apply to the state. The state sends, how it's, at this point, as I understand it, they're going to send something to us saying, give us a copy of your ordinance. And if the ordinance says no, it's not allowed, then
You don't get it.
that's it.
Right. And then if they still want
They
it,
get turned down.
can go to the ZBA to appeal what we say.
I
right?
don't know if that's going to be something that they
Yeah,
would be able to do
Because
under
one
the
of my
state.
other thoughts on this is, if we wanted to say, okay, we'll allow all these different things, but you have to, because of the size of our community, we could say you have to be this far from any residential school, church, whatever.
Do that. You can also
And-
limit the
and-
number of them. You
Right,
can say
but
one of
then
each.
We could do it at that way,
Mhm.
allowing it, but then there's no place they could put it, potentially. Too, we could.
You could just say you
Well-
don't want them.
I just say you don't want them, be done with it.
It's not like an adult bookstore where it's,
Right.
covered under First Amendment and you have to provide for it. It's something you can say you don't want if you don't want it.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, before I would put some provision that says, well, you have to be 40 feet from this or 100 feet
Right.
from this. If there is nothing that meets that requirement in Berkeley, then why bother to do that? So it's either we want them
But
or
if you
we-
wanted to limit it to one single area, you could do that too.
Oh,
Certainly,
That's
we
what
could
zoning
say it
does.
has to be
Yeah.
within an area, or if we don't want them at all, or
Right.
if we only want X, and then it's like, well, who comes first? And then if they come first, if they fit in the area, I don't know. I mean, we're a small community.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Martin Smith?
a couple of things. Number one, the choice of whether we want none of them, some of them, or all of them, isn't that really a policy issue? Isn't that something the city council should decide what they want?
I-
mean, we're here to zone it or locate it if that should be their decision. But why is this coming to us at this point?
The
And how does
city
public
man-
safety feel about it?
Well,
I know the city
can I
manager
answer one
asked
thing?
us to look at it.
Yes, they did. He
Now,
did.
Item 2, we had a project in Southfield that it was a facility. So I have the Southfield ordinance, and you brought up distance. Now, the Southfield ordinance has, they will be, here, I gotta find it. I get too much paper here.
But they're 36 square miles.
Well, let me finish. Southfield ordinance has 15, well, let me double check. I'm sorry, 20 items. Medical marijuana facility shall be subject to the following conditions. 20 items. Number 1, the most important one, any parcel within 500 feet of a residentially zoned district or drug-free zone. Any parcel within 500 feet that contains a house, adult regulated use, school, church, blah, 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 blah. And then it goes into 1,500 feet from pawn shops and alternative financial service establishments. I would like to find any piece of property in Berkeley. Now, they obviously thought this was important, because this is number 1, 500 feet. I'd like to find a piece of property in Berkeley that's 100 feet from a residence.
But
So-
in all fairness, Southfield is much larger than Berkeley.
But it doesn't matter. It's still, you have to be 500 feet, just like liquor. You have to be X number of feet
But that's
from a
what
school.
Southfield decided.
I know, I'm telling you that. That's what
Okay.
they said.
I know where
They
you're
decide of the
going. I
20,
understand.
that's the most important thing, and they picked 500 feet.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we don't even have 50 feet from a residence. I'm just saying.
And some,
Well, let's
yeah.
back up. Are there any properties in Southfield that meet that?
Yeah, they
requirement?
zone it, it's an industrial use for them. And the project we were approached was outside that industrial use, but it was shot, we were approached by a potential client, but it was shot down because they were on the periphery of that industrial use, too close to residences. But they could not find a piece of property within the industrial use.
Okay.
So that's why they came to us. But it didn't happen. I'm just using this as an example.
Okay.
And and my first question is, and you did say it, the city manager asked us to look at it, but I have no horse in this race. I got, how are we gonna decide 1, none, 5?
I think you're going to make a recommendation to city council, and city council would
I
have the
have
final
no
say.
basis to recommend anything like this.
Well, we haven't even looked at it yet.
No,
We're
my thing
just
is,
looking
And in
at
all
it.
fairness, if you're going to put those kind of constructs on it, where it has to be X number of feet from X, Y, or Z, and you know that there are no properties that meet that, or there's only one.
Oh, that's a
property that
zoning
meet that,
tool people use all the
Well, then you might
time.
as well just say no.
Right.
So I think that's playing both sides of the coin, if you will.
Well,
And it's.
No, I'm just using it as an
No,
example.
I'm just saying, I think that I personally, I'm just saying, we're up here talking, I think that's dirty pool, to be like, well, you can have it if you can, it can be purple, and it can be 30 feet
Well-
tall, and it can be within 500 feet of this, when none of those things will ever be met in our community. So it's either we want them, or we don't want them.
Right.
And if we want them, we have some places where they can go within our comfort zone. But we don't make these very ridiculous and/or unachievable requirements
implying
for
that
them
at all.
where there is
I know.
no place that they can ever go, because they will never, ever find that spot.
It is a zoning tool that is used, but I'm not saying we
I'm just
use
saying,
it
but
here.
I think that's
I think
just
it
a
is
waste of
underhand.
our
I agree with
time.
you 100% on that.
Waste of our time and
Right.
the public's time to try
So-
to find that spot and then go to
So
ZBA and have it
what
overruled. See,
they are
we want them or we
asking,
don't want them.
they are asking us to review this and other
City
stuff
manager is asking you to
and make
look
a
at it.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Now, if
For
I
a
can,
community our size that's so compact, where we are largely residential
We know that.
with a commercial zone or two major commercial zones, or three with Woodward, and a very tiny, an 11-mile industrial zone, if you will,
That backs up to residential.
that backs up to residential and backs up to two other communities, Southfield and Oak Park, and
Huntington Woods.
Huntington Woods.
Oak
What
And Royal Oak.
exactly would we put in place that would either not impact our neighbors, who we like having a very cordial and cooperative relationship with, and/or our very tiny community? I mean, I'm just not sure where you put them in Berkeley where it makes sense.
Okay, you just said exactly what I was going to say. We're not arguing, we're on the same page.
Yeah, I have no problem saying that out
That last
loud.
statement
I
you made
do
is
not see a
exactly
place for
what
these-
that's exactly what I think. I don't know if there's a location that makes sense.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Dean's.
I'm not sure where this discussion is going, but I spent a lot of time in the city of Detroit, and I see these little green buildings that pop up everywhere along the border cities. What I'm not seeing or hearing is that they become any kind of a crime magnet. It is just, it's a legitimate business. I look at a dispensary, for example, as nothing more than one of these pharmacy compounding outfits. They're serving a legal need. People that are walking into these buildings aren't hiding their faces and robbing people outside. I don't get the whole excitement about having a marijuana dispensary in the
Should-
city. Wait, let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
I also spent some time in Colorado this summer, and I was just amazed that, especially in the college community, that these are storefronts, and there's not crime. It's just part of society. So I would like us to be maybe a little open-minded, yet cautious. When it comes to the grow and the processors, grow houses, I don't really see where one would go in Berkeley, mainly because of property values. You need some space, you need some cheap electricity, and in surrounding cities, there's more cheap space than what we have here. So if we permitted them, I would put them somewhere down on the 11-mile near Greenfield area in what we now call our industrial facility. The processor, that as I was reading through these things and not being able to use butane to heat these things, I thought, oh my goodness, this could be like a meth house. But it isn't. It's people are heating a product to drop the resins out. If done properly, it's not a dangerous operation. What worries me is that people might be doing this in their homes. But again, I haven't heard or seen any statistics that fire runs have gone up because people are processing marijuana in their homes. So I don't get the excitement. This is a legitimate business, and we should go in wide-eyed, but not try to push them off in a corner. I think that's just fundamentally wrong.
Mr. Murin.
Amy, have any of our neighboring communities, we know Southfield, Royal Oak, Huntington Woods, or Oak Park, have they done anything yet?
I haven't,
Okay.
Talk to
Southfield has
other-
an ordinance.
Yeah, I see.
I would
Southfield
imagine
does.
Ferndale does, or
Yeah.
Oak probably.
Detroit has ordinances.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Changing
Okay.
the
no,
ordinance.
I talked with our public safety director, that was your question from before.
Yeah, and that
Yes,
was gonna be my
and-
next
yeah,
one.
And so his thought was, federal law doesn't permit it.
Right.
okay.
Right.
Mr.
But,
Chair.
That's,
but
but that's, and that's
state
his
law
position.
is,
His position is we shouldn't go against federal law.
okay, but state
Mr.
law
Chair,
is.
that is my
I-
point. Federal law does not permit this yet, or whatever. This is a state law issue at the moment. And I realize that the federal authorities have kind of been hands-off so that it can change every 4 years. And I don't think until there's something that comes down, because
There will be eventually.
possibly, but
Oh,
until
boy.
then, it's still a risk.
Mhm.
And I don't, for Berkeley, as such a compact community, I'm not sure where we place them, where it becomes, you know,
Mr.
not a
Chair,
risk.
I still have.
You have the floor.
could I finish what I was,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Okay.
Go ahead and finish, Dean.
I thought you had finished.
almost. The last point that I was going to make is that right now, federal law makes the whole medical marijuana thing questionable, especially for the grower, the processor, and the retail facility, the dispensary. So I would hope that we would not put public safety in a position where we're asking them to ignore our laws. But in the meantime, there's no reason not to have a good discussion about what if. You know, certainly I would not vote to approve any facility if it's going to put law enforcement crosswise with the rules they're supposed to enforce. But, you know, we ought to be prepared because I believe the day's coming.
I think there will be a federal case that goes to the Supreme Court in the not too distant future.
Yeah, within the
and
next
then we'll
24
know.
months.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. So then we'll know.
Well, Mr. Chair, a couple other things. And to talk about, you know, locations too, like a testing center is almost like a lab. So we have medical buildings that have labs in them now, right? But I don't, you know, I'm kind of along with Mr. Smith's thing is if public safety is against it and pointing towards federal, and then I see we have a lot of residents here, I'd like to see how they feel, you know?
Does anybody else want to make a comment, Mr. Richardson?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with most of Mr. Dean Smith's comments. It is not legal under federal law at this time, but we're a planning commission. It often takes us a long time to formulate zoning regulations and a lot of study. I personally would like as much information as I can about the experience of other communities that do have zoning regulations that regulate this kind of business. You know, I think the discussion tonight is kind of revolving around a set of presumptions that this is a unsavory business. It's going to attract shady people. And I don't know if that's really true or not. I'd like to investigate that. Another point I'd like to make is that these new laws that have come out of a Republican legislature, you know, impose really, really tight and stringent regulations on this type of business, so that you know, communities that have already had these kind of businesses, if they're not having problems, it's difficult for me to foresee having problems with you know, the kind of business that's regulated this closely and this carefully. You know, this is a product of the Cultural Revolution and a lot of medical research over the last 40 or 50 years, and there's a respectable body of opinion that this can help people. This kind of service can help people. I don't think we are a medical body. We shouldn't be making that kind of a judgment. We should just be proceeding on the more practical end of it. You know, can our community accommodate the kind of traffic and the kind of concourse that a business like that would draw? And we need information about that, I think, to make decisions like that. So I think we should plunge ahead. I'm not at the point of saying, yes, I'd vote in favor of an ordinance. None of us is. We're a long way from that. But we shouldn't just stick our head in the sand and say, wait, this development is something that we as a community should just ignore. You know, I don't agree with that.
Martin Smith?
Amy, can we have public safety come in and talk to us about, you know, obviously they have statistics, especially sharing information with neighboring communities, what their feelings are and
Sure.
statistics? 'Cause they really, you know, they're the first.
And they have probably
Right,
better
and-
handle.
Well, they have
of what-
experience in it.
Yeah.
You know, we have nothing to base these decisions on at this point especially.
One of the items in this law
Oh, I'm
is,
done.
is that the board can authorize warrantless searches of these facilities. So public safety can just,
Walk in.
walk in after getting
Can
approval.
I ask another,
from the
why
board.
are they exempt from freedom of information?
It's HIPAA. It's healthcare.
HIPAA, that's what I guessed. Okay, okay. That's what would be my guess.
So Mr. Chair,
Ms. Buckler?
so Amy, if you're reaching out as well, I'd like to see what neighboring communities, beside the city of Detroit, which is not a neighboring community to us, how many facilities are in our neighboring communities?
Okay.
Including Royal Oak, Beverly Hills,
Maybe Detroit's changing it.
Southfield,
That's some-
Huntington Woods, Oak Park.
Okay.
I mean,
Will do.
Okay.
I'm not aware of any.
Is there anybody out there in our audience tonight that would like to weigh in on this topic?
Hi, I'm Wendy Zabramski, I'm Gardner. A couple of things. I listened to a speaker a year ago from Colorado at the Tri-Community Coalition Leadership Breakfast, and he talked about the statistics in Colorado that we do not hear about. Now, remember, Colorado is just legal. It's not medical marijuana.
Right.
Okay, and yes, there's dispensaries all over, and it's really gone well. However, we're not hearing about the teen use being way up when those brains are forming, and that's going to cause problems. Also, the traffic incidents and accidents are way up. Okay, that's what you have from just being, legal. Here, medical marijuana, and I hope that in this new law that's, coming out, who can get it, I hope is more, regulated, thank you. Because I know people now who are getting it for anxiety. And all you have to do is go to one of these doctors and say, I have a lot of anxiety, and they're giving them medical marijuana cards. And I don't think that's the intent. I think for cancer patients and for, there are many, many good uses for it. But, and I know of different people who are growers, and they're growing in Berkeley, I do believe. I'm not 100% positive, but who I'm thinking of, I think lives in Berkeley. So, yes, I want to see it regulated. I do want to see it regulated. And as far as, Berkeley is only, 1.5 square miles. Like you said, in reference to areas of where these things can take place. And in the fact that the federal law, I know there's a lot of people that are for legalizing it. I just don't happen to be one of those people because, I'm hearing, what's going on in other states.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Lisa Kempner. I think on the other side of that, you can find that with alcohol, you can find that with prescription drugs, you're going to find people who use it properly and people who don't use it properly. I don't think that it's automatically going to draw in a CD type, right? There are alcoholics in Berkeley and they go to the liquor store and come out and they're not, hanging out in front in like a bad movie. It'll be the same if you were, to put a marijuana shop in there as well. So that's my big point.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Yeah. Okay, what is the next steps for us? You want to get somebody from public safety?
Absolutely.
And then
See what other
see what other communities are doing and how it's handling it, and then
Okay.
let's bring it back
Will do.
at our next meeting. Now, let's
Well, I'll do my best.
Yeah, here's
So-
what here, since we come down to that, we're at the end. We're going into liaison reports in a minute. The next meeting is December the 13th, I believe, right?
Yes.
We have a joint meeting scheduled for the 9th,
Yes.
Friday, right?
Friday the 9th. My question is, do we really need a December meeting if we go on the 9th? Why do we have to meet on the 13th again? Can we use that as our meeting? Because you really said you didn't have much on the agenda.
No, other than, I can cobble together, I won't be able to, I can't commit
Right.
Public Safety Director Eschman to
Right,
that.
I know you can't cobble
And
this
I'll
all
see what I
together.
can get as far as ordinances go, but that would be what you would have on the agenda.
That would be it. So my question still is, do you want to just use the 9th as our meeting and call it for December?
Well, if she has information.
Or do you
on
want to
these.
bring this back on the 13th too? I'm just,
Yeah, that's,
Well, you also got the holiday in there, so
Yep.
she's got
we got holiday and everything.
2 weeks on top of that, prepping for that 9th meeting. It's not a lot of time. I don't think this is another month is gonna make a big difference in this.
Oh, I know.
So, this medical marijuana thing.
Mr.
There's nothing else, pending.
Mr. Chair, what time of the day is that
Oh,
December 9th meeting?
2 o'clock.
2 PM? Okay.
Retired guys.
Yeah.
So,
What
I
you
guess
know
the
now.
question is, do you want to have a meeting on the 13th?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Dean Smith?
I would as soon skip the meeting on the 13th.
Okay.
And to add to the other Commissioner Smith's comment, the medical marijuana discussion, I anticipate this going on for several months. And there's
Yeah.
not urgency. It's,
right.
in fact, slow is probably better than fast.
Can't do anything till the
But-
state acts anyway.
Well, the
Well, we
law
can
goes
begin
into
the-
effect the 20th of December.
Yeah.
And if somebody applies for here in
No,
Berkeley.
we don't
they've
have
got-
any the state's not going to get any applications.
There's
They don't
not
have the
any
rules
app- they're not
developed. We have a
ready to
whole
set
other
up
year.
yet.
The law
Okay.
goes into
Here.
effect, and then
Yeah.
they've got to adopt rules, and that's going
Okay.
to take another year.
All right, okay.
They have to go through J-CAR and all that, so.
So,
Fine
you
with
want to
that.
skip the 13th?
No meeting on 13th.
Agreed.
Ms. Pop?
Agree.
I'm fine with that.
Agreed.
Agreed.
So we'll use the 9th as the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Now I'll go on to liaison reports. You want to go first, Chamber?
Sure. Chamber of Commerce. So they have their holiday party on the 7th at 5:30. I think it's going to be at Crispelli's, if I recall. That will be the location for it. They are planning a new event for July 15th. It's going to be called the Street Art Fest. And they're going to have some like chalk art artists and some muralists here, and I'm not sure how it's all going to work out. And then the other event they're working on is going to be called Art from the Heart. It's going to be like a Valentine's shopping art event that they're working on, so.
That's it. Ms. Pop, do you want to say
Uh,
anything tonight
they-
about the DDA?
Yeah, the DDA, everybody knows that the Rabina Street is open. And the traffic study's completed, and the feedback that the DDA got was not terribly favorable to the whole concept, so they're going to be discussing that. And they mentioned, Steve Baker mentioned that there's a new finance director, Sabrina Lila, and there was discussion on the lighting, Christmas lights, and also with the DDA manager, they've got a couple of good leads, and they're looking into that. And again, there's vacancies on the board. Okay.
CBA?
ZBA did meet. We had one case that was postponed to December. Applicant was requesting a circular driveway in an area that permits them. And it just didn't appear to be a really well thought out solution, so we convinced the applicant to defer and look at some other options. And just one other thing, I can't hold this any longer. When we were, we had the minutes for the September meeting, and the Vincetta Garage was, was their activity. In the minutes that were prepared, apparently the holding company for the Vincetta Garage is an outfit called Union Joints. And if they don't license that thing as a dispensary, man, I don't know what.
Funny.
That's all.
Do you have Parks and Rec yet?
I had a previously scheduled appointment for that night, and I missed the Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Nothing from environmental.
Environmental? Okay. Then last night we had city council meeting. Mr. Dean Smith was there, Ms. Vanson was there. The amendment has gone out to the 63 communities. I guess it went out in the mail today.
That's 63.
Or, I'm sorry.
Okay.
They got 63 days.
Yes.
It went to the adjoining communities and all the folks and everybody that needs to review it. So we'll see what happens at the end of this. And then we'll come back and we'll have some serious discussions on it. And I know the public will be wanting to weigh in again on it. So, they also purchasing new radar units for the police cars. It's kind of interesting. The radar units that are currently in the cars are over 10 years old and they're not in great shape, so they're purchasing all new radars for the police cars. So you'll be seeing that soon, and they introduced a new finance director, and with that, I guess we'll just run around the room real quick. Mr. Martin Smith, anything else tonight?
No, sir.
Mr. Richardson?
I'd just like to shout out to Patrick Jays for hosting a fundraiser for the Christmas parade. I thought that was really a public-spirited thing to do, and it was fun. So kudos to them, and I'd like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Ms. Pop?
Same thing. Happy Thanksgiving.
From your end?
Actually, I'm going to add happy holidays too, since we're not going to have a December meeting. So happy Thanksgiving also.
Ms. Buckler?
Have a safe and happy holiday.
That's it. Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you guys in December.
Ms. Vanson, anything?
I guess happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you in December.
Okay. I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and it was nice to see we had an audience tonight, and it was interesting, and comments. Thank you for your comments, and with that, I guess we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair?
Chair? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, Tim can have it.
Motion to adjourn.
Support?
Any discussion on it? None? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned for November. Thank you all for coming.